made off the wall here.
Yeah, it's going to put them even farther behind that top 5 that they're trying to catch up to. But a couple of individual plays we're going to have to mention here as well. YZZ from LGD, the last surviving player from the teams out of water. First of all, I mean, obviously the confidence that goes in to be able to pull off that kind of situation and knowing your limits and knowing what you need to do. But I feel like at the end, to be fair to him, Victor kind of saved him from Gaylord as he knocked 2 players from Besiktas.
Pretty much. Like, the situation is really like out there. It's hard to predict what's going to be happening, but he just picked up the pieces. And I think that the weapon choice for him in that situation was really good. He was playing the PP Bison, which, as we know, has got a lot of ammo in that clip, and you can just keep spraying down as they just come out of the water. You can just keep spraying, keep the pressure on, and it's going to be really hard to make it over to the mainland. So, yeah, good weapon usage, and YZZ. I mean, they had a good game initially, but making it across that river as a 4-man team is just so hard, Jason.
Here you go, the points for Alpha 7, 23. LGD, though, 20 points. I mean, if we talk about those individual points scored, we talked about Navarro getting himself 10. I think YZZ has just been able to catch up quite a bit here because that gets LGD so close to being in top 5 now.
I wonder how close it is. I'm hyped to look at the overall rankings, but this is a game that's going to put them in good standing. What's not going to put a few of the teams in good standing, of course, we talked about HVVP, but BTR losing that fight almost instantly to the hands of a Game Lord. That's going to put Game Lord in a great position, and it's fantastic for Game Lord too, because before this game, Game Lord went 8th with 49 points. BTR were just barely above them in 6th place, was an extra 2 points with 51. So now BTR falling down, Game Lord going up again.
Well, even Titan Sandstorm going up as well because they got themselves a huge chunk of points as they were already in 15th or in 5th place, I should say, at the time. So we see a lot of movement still happening here, and potentially a lot of movement happening when it comes to our fan vote leaderboard. Remember, I said S2G was 1st place yesterday, and they're going to be still 1st place today. However, Nikke Galaxy getting 5th. Maybe the only way that we're going to see Nikke Galaxy get a top 5 today.
How are 4 rivals higher?
I don't know how 4 rivals
started
are
off 5th.
higher.
Then they were 4th, I think, yesterday. Now they're 3rd. Like, are they going to...
Are they coming for S2G's spot? Is that the question? I mean, we're running out of days. That's it. Today's the last day. We're done. Just 5 more games left.
I mean, Nigma's there at least, so yeah, you're happy.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I mean... I thought Sandstorm was going to get a little angry at me for what I said there about the only time we're going to see Nikke Galaxy in top 5.
I mean, what am I going to defend here? You give me a reason to defend them. From what I've seen in these games... They don't deserve to get into the top 5. They're just not showing what they're made of. It's not the same performance from last year's BMGC. They were sticking to the heal strat on Sandhawk yesterday as well, so there's not much left to give them at this point.
Well, you know what there is left to give from you guys at home? Your thoughts with the viewer survey that's currently happening over in the YouTube chat. You guys can fill it out and give your feedback on the show, feedback on the talent. Maybe you want me next year to bully Maxman even more. Let us know your thoughts, and you know, I'll make that happen the best I possibly can. Or poor Matt, I'm looking at you and you're like, no. Let's take a look, though, at what's really important, excuse me, today. The overall rankings. Top 5 is what's all about, and we have seen some movement. Alpha 7 sneaking way into 1st place. We can see Titan Gaming as well has moved up, but Game Lord 2 points behind top 5, and even LGD now just 10 points behind top 5.
That's the thing, right? When you have only 12 matches to perform to be in a top 5 position, every single game you could have a completely different ranking for these teams. Top 5 teams remain the exact same, but just the placements are a little bit different. But I've seen HVP slip down a little bit, and down 1-2, like 2 teams that I thought, yeah, they're going to be top 5, should be pretty easy. Struggling a little bit, and Vampire had a good start, but they got gatekept by Reject really hard this game.
It's still 19-point difference from that 5th place spot all the way towards 12. So even teams like Besiktas have a chance to bring it back. But again, these teams at the very bottom of the leaderboard, they need to start bringing it early on in the day. So they need to bring it in game 8, game 9, of course, in Miramar and Sandhawk. If they're not able to perform in these 2 games, then the last 3 games of the day, we're just going to be focused on the top 5 teams and maybe up to 8th, who is going to be challenging for those top 5 spots.
Okay, well, going into our Miramar here, what about your teams to watch here? Let's start off with you, Sandstorm, since I usually start Maxman. We can see your teams, Nikke Galaxy, Bacon Time, Agon I8. Okay, let's hear it.
Well, with Agon IA, these guys, I mean, they showed us something special on the very last day of survival stage, but we're not seeing any of that in today's games. They were very late on their rotation coming up from the military base, and when we saw them going into Zone 2, I believe Zone 3, 2 or 3 of the players had like 3 bandages and no stims. They were running out of meds, so those late rotations are hurting them a lot. Bacon, one of the top performing teams on Erangel as well. We didn't see them do anything in the last game, didn't see them do anything in day one. So the reason I'm focusing on these teams, they're at the very bottom and they need to perform and they need to do it now. Otherwise, their journey is done in the PMGC.
All right, well, looking at your picks, Maxman, I can see a certain team in there that you said you would not predict at all today, or at least as a team to watch. LGD, interesting.
It's not my pick. You told me to pick it for you, Jason. I took it for you. I took Besiktas and Vampire.
I didn't hear Jason do that.
I was going to say I've proved we didn't record anything, unfortunately. But yeah, LGD, I mean, they were in a position that was not great before this game. They were in 11th position, and it was said, right, also that they only have a certain amount of games where they can potentially hope to be back in a race. Thanks to the performance of YZZ, they're still in a position where they can compete. They're still clearly in a position where they can be in the top 5. And as we know, Jason, they are a team that are really good at playing on Miramar. So if they can get himself maybe their very first chicken dinner of the last chance on this game, this would put them, normally push them up even in top 5.
And top 5 obviously would make them extremely happy, but the problem is they are running out of matches to do so. And there's a lot of other teams gunning out for that position as well. So we're going to head on over to our commentators, though. You know what, for Maxman? You could throw it on over to John, Allen, and Blake here for once.
Okay, John and Blank, take it away.
Oh, you're so lame.
Imagine being so lame that you have to get Maxman to do your throws for you. What is this? What is going on?
You know, I particularly liked when he stumbled trying to get Max to throw to us in the first place.
Yeah.
And then Max was just like, you know, take it, boys. And we did. We took it off his hands. You know, now we'll take the pressure away and we'll have to sit back here and watch for 30 minutes as some of the best teams of the world are going to get cut out. You know, we're not seeing a lot of these guys going through over to the grand finals. 11 teams will be leaving us now. A lot of these teams are fan favorites too. I don't think there's anyone here in this PMGC stage that no one's cheering for. I think everyone's cheering for these teams. I'm passionate about all these teams as well. There's so many cool and interesting step-ups in terms of performance, in terms of gameplay, so many separate regions. I think this is one of the most inclusive PMGCs we've seen in a long time, with a lot of different regions finding their star power, finding those members that can operate on that world stage, which is so cool to me. And I think that a lot of that comes down to just the format this year as well, where we have had a much more evenly based tournament format, in which case teams can get in, where, you know, if you do very well in your league stage, you get a big bump up in performance and points over towards those finals in PMPL, which has meant that a lot of our teams that are consistently the best have had that big chance and that big advantage to get towards the finals. And if they don't make it through the finals, well, they weren't good at sprints and they wouldn't have done good here. So we have the best performing on this grand world stage, with new stars and the right world stars as well here for us. So everything is aligned for this best, I will go ahead and say it, the best PMGC we have ever had. And with this Northern Circle as well, it has been chaotic, particularly with that last Erangel 2, and these teams, these players have had to deal with some very awkward scenarios and have dealt with them admirably as well.
We've seen a Northwestern Circle before, Blank. It was HVVP's game, and they couldn't have it at a more important time as well. We've seen, well, not only in just this tournament, back in Group Green as well, there was this Hard Northern Circle. They won that as well. Hard Northern Circles on Miramar are an HVVP speciality. They need these points now. Can they get them when it matters most? I feel like this is a team that would be so disappointed not to see in the PMGC finals in Jakarta. It wouldn't feel quite right to not have them there. And they're currently in 9th place. If we shut it down now, Inco far ahead of them.
Well, I mean, this is what I'm saying, that there's so many teams that we would lose that you would be hesitant to see not go through. And the thing is in the top 5, all of these teams, I would 100% support them going through to the grand finals. I would also be 100% sad if we didn't see the likes of BTR, HVP, Damwon, Reject, VPE, Aegon, Nigma, Bacon Time, Besiktas. There are so many teams here.
You're just naming the whole table.
Honestly, all of them. I would be so sad to see all of them go out. So every time someone bumps themselves up into the finalist position towards that top 5, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I'm also sad for whoever drops down. It's terrifying. In the meantime, you could be very happy at home because you will be rewarded with a PMGC special crate from 2022, and that releases tomorrow. It's an early Christmas gift, guys, don't you worry. And it doesn't end on Christmas Day either. It goes all the way through January 8th, so if you missed it, you were spending time with family, maybe you were trying to put that phone down at those meals that you were spending with all your friends and family as well. Perhaps you can pick your phone back up again once it rolls around 26th and realize that the 2022 special crate is still here.
Sat in the corner of the party with your phone, getting your PMGC crate going on, thinking they don't know I've got my PMGC crate. Just they're one step behind you. Don't worry, you'll be
you are the
pretty
cool
happy
cat
with that.
in
Exactly.
that scenario.
You are the cool cat indeed.
I don't think anyone wants to be called a cool cat these days, sadly.
You're a cool cat.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. See, I like being called a cool cat. I'll take that one. In the meantime, a lot of these teams will have to be very cool indeed because the pressure is on, massively so at this point in time. Some of these teams would like to get some more points. For Inco, I said, they clock in at 9, they get the majority of their work done early, and then they relax the rest of the day. They're efficient workers. They're smart at working too. You don't put the effort in where you don't need to. But for Inco, that last game maybe wasn't the most productive power hour we have seen from Inco Gaming during this tournament. 63 points, 9 points found that last one. Usually for Inco, they're looking for a big game in terms of, we're nigh on the 20 to 30 point mark, which really does see them safe. 9-point game, that's underneath the average that you would need to be hitting to make towards that top 5. Currently, they're right on the cusp with 63, and Gainlord is hesitant to let up right now, getting a lot of points every single game here on forwards. Towards the start of last chance, things looked a little bit rickety for them, but the boat has been patched up. The raft looks a lot more safe and secure, and I think that Gainlord does have a chance now to get towards the grand finals.
Inco did send very central very early. It's what they do. They are now to the northwest of water treatment, pretty much slap bang in the center of the circle on this position. Will be joining the likes of Gainlord in that middle set. Nikke Galaxy as well, crunching up on the south side of Crater Fields. Down one gaming a little bit behind them on the queue. Alpha 7 pushing in from the northeastern side. Torre Ahumada right now, currently on the east cut of the circle. And will be pushing in from that eastern edge. A lot of teams looking to start to move in, especially teams on the southeast. DRS, chief amongst them, Puerto Paraíso, currently still being looted up by them.
It's a bit of a long run for them to get towards the circle itself. Interesting stats towards the beginning of the day was the amount of smoke usage that we saw. IHC absolutely being dominant in terms of that position with 90 smokes thrown over the course of yesterday, which is a lot going through there, which is nice to see. I think that when you look at that kind of number, it's a bit terrifying to some of these teams. And that's 16 per game on average, which is nice. You always want to see that kind of number coming through.
Down one, making it to a compound underneath Gainlord. Again, very, very central, very early. 6 minutes into the game on Miramar as well to get to a central position. That's really quite snappy. It means you would have left your looting location in that 5th minute. And if you dropped out late as well, I mean, you're going to be fairly minimally looted. So a lot of teams getting out of the way. But look at that, level 3 helmet, level 2 vest, level 2 backpack. Pretty decent on those meds as well. Gainlord seem like they've managed to find a good spot.
Absolutely. HVP, on the other hand, up towards La Cobreria, decided not to head down towards Crater Fields as of yet. With this being further out towards that eastern side, I think that for HVP, it's more of a priority to them right now to be picking up loot in the early game towards that first 7 minutes, get themselves nice and geared, rather than trying to take up that ridge side, which requires a lot of time and resources to be put into that. You need to be early up that side too. So I think for HVP, this is not a bad idea to be picking up loot now, understanding this could be a very hard eastern shift on this next circle. In which case that ridge side doesn't become very valuable anymore to you whatsoever, because you have to come down off it. Let's remember that. If it's not definite on that position, when you are leaving that spot, you're having to grab vehicles and send off the top side. More likely teams around this area will be spotting you and taking shots. And I think even going further beyond that point, yesterday and throughout Group Green, this is a position that HVP found so many points from. I think everyone's aware that this is happening now and will be hesitant not to be looking up towards the skies, towards those eagle perches that HVP have been taking up so often. So changing up the pace, changing up the game is essential for HVP.
One of the changes that they've made is actually Tixie's position is a lot further west currently than it usually is. Playing on the west Crater Fields. Normally he's playing on the east or at most to the west side of, like the middle of the two craters, right, are in those ridge lines. Maybe that's something that they've learned from yesterday's games against Bacon Time pushing in on the back. Bacon Time won't be filling in that area right now, but IHC might. Besiktas up and into a scrap with LGD as we tune back on in to the east side of the circle near Cruz de Valle. Besiktas looking to disengage. LGD not going to lose a player, but Besiktas again losing a spot that early on into the game is not ideal. A tumble on two players, but Changxin not able to capitalize. The bullet's not quite going to fill the mag enough. MVM takes up the mantle, and there goes the vehicle. 2 knocks of Besiktas. They're going to be careening all the way down to 1 player alive.
Yeah, when you see that type of thing where it is still open ground and LGD is able to reposition very quickly into good spots, they are heavily accurate in these games. It's difficult to get away from the sightlines of them. They're rather, instead of trying to pop you out the vehicle, they'll just send bullets in. They saw the smoke and they realized that the Thunder was going to come afterwards. Circle heads out towards that eastern side and HVP make the right call. VPE, on the other hand, very similar position to what they saw yesterday on that game where HVP won the Miramar. However, this is much more beneficial towards them. They have a very nice spot towards this circle. Start to take shots out towards anyone on that western side. And now HVP, A7 forced to play those outer edges. It's so interesting to see this dynamic between A7 and HVP because they do tend to engage in combat quite early on. I think the only weird factor right now is that no one's going to be challenging A7. IHC, on the other hand, coming through La Cobreria right now, and HVP will have to be set up for something like that.
Potential for IHC to continue to move further in and try and swing over the north. They'll know that this is the HVVP zone, right? So now they're going to have their wits about them. Reject up and into the fight with Aegon XI8, playing on the south chunk of the central area here. IQ opens up with a knock onto Duello. Reject now active with 3. IQ cooking a nade. Spots Reiji around the corner. Repositions away from the nade. Doesn't take any damage for it. A Molotov from Reiji to slow that corner down. Looking for the res. They need to hold off on the other side of the building, but Vampire over the top of the hill have got these third-party sightlines. It's going to make it really hard for Reject to do anything other than fight forwards towards Aegon XI8. The res did come through, so they are back to full 4, but they'll need some healing done if they want to have a chance.
So they have medkits as well. This is only 70%, and I8 looking a little bit healthier right now. Nades are now pulled out for Reject, looking to send them over towards that compound that I8 moved themselves into, towards that warehouse side. A lot of open space in there, so the nades can tumble and drop over towards just the very beneath of your feet. So you got to be careful for I8 going forward. I think that they started off that fight strong and now can kind of slow it down just a little bit. Wait it out, try and get those stims on board and go again when they feel the time is right. But at the moment, where they are, very central, this is happy days for them. Inco currently on a 2-2 split at the moment. They were central, now they're trying to hold out 2 zones. Could be dangerous for them with teams maybe wanting to come down towards that area. A7 on the other hand up towards water treatment, very high ground already achieved on their side. Mafioso up towards that northern side, watching the crossing on the road, making sure that no one's coming down there. And they have good sightlines down towards DRS too, so they'll have to be very worried coming to this one. Hard shift down towards the south side. This is going to put Hacienda del Patron back in the action, and a vast majority of the circle now a little bit unplayable with that fielded area over towards the east that currently LGD are holding it.
All right, let's see what these teams on the north side have got. A little bit of a bitter test for them. Bacon Time, desperately in need of performance. 23 points, a poor game last game as well. Currently 40 points whole behind that 5th place bubble. 5 matches to make up that gap. I think after probably, I would say, moving into the last 3 games, we'll be able to start discounting teams at the bottom of the tables, but for now it is still possible for anyone to make it in. Vampire have got a pretty strong couple of buildings here to hold out the teams on the northwest.
Yeah, it is really nice to work from. I mean, there's a lot of open ground, and some of this area is held off, made sure it's free and clear just purely by the terrain they're currently holding in. Game Lord, nice and on high at the moment, but outside the circle, will have to move in. Currently just trying to hold out teams like Damwon, as well as IHC. In the meantime, HVP moved down to a compound just on the north side of the circle, where this road slits through the map.
Shots coming through, trades off Vavian first to fall, but it is back and forth. LGD lose 2. A blow dealt to the Korean squad, but it is given back twofold, and Forest peeks out. Lovely little spray there onto Suki. Last player for LGD. Going on into the fight, looking for a knock, and we'll be able to find it. YZ as well. Last time survivor on the previous map, looking for more here as well, and he takes down all of that one. LGD ruined the chances for Korean squads. It is unfortunate. They'll be moving forwards with just the one player. 5 eliminations racked on up, and that is disaster for Damwon.
Game Lord just get decimated by IHC, who just move in as a 4-man squad, and Game Lord cannot hold back the tide that is IHC as they wash over them, and will leave that compound clean of any Game Lord players remaining. Titans down towards the southeast, playing on the high ground, looking down towards the eastern side. Very interesting end towards this Miramar, honestly. Hacienda del Patron still in, awkward terrain down towards that south side. BTR holding there currently. I think for BTR right now, things do get a little bit scary. You need to put some points on the board to get them back into a position where they can leapfrog up into that top 5. I think they've been given a lot of chances where they could get those chicken dinners, being some good spots, but unable with the players they currently have to bring that firepower to the table.
Scarce reload, Enigma Galaxy. I think that was a tire spin out there for Ralph. Shots from Godless down the hill, a pivotal off angle coming through from IHC to slow down this aggression. Enigma Galaxy for sure would have taken them down if Godless had moved with this rotation from the rest of the squad, but over the top they go. They want the challenge, the fight, but it's bad because Lords launched an aid over their way. Oh, goodness me. 2 players down for Enigma Galaxy. Hamodi gets drawn short. Ralph as well, knocked on this approach. Godless, so important for IHC. He needs to stay alive in the spot to allow them the chance here. Icy, low HP, nade over the top, going to continue to come through from Lord. Nades find 2 from Enigma Galaxy. Icy and Alex doing a lot of work there, but a Molotov actually burning Alex away. That might tick him. Can he get the first aid off? Yep, the fire will go out as well. So first aid necessary. Over the back, there's Vampire as well. Ready and waiting for third party. This Freak spots it.
Goodness me, Freak, very important there from the sidelines, but Meku coming in with HVP, looking to finish up this fight on the third party, but gets turned away there. Godless tries to get out of dodge in the UAZ, very low.
Oh, no.
Freak also finishing off Meku from the sidelines. This is not the way they wanted it to go. This could have been a perfect opportunity for that third party, but losing a member on the process, not ideal. However, they had to punch their way into the circle somewhere, and this is probably the best place to do it on the top of the third party.
Do not expect that player out in the blue. Meku goes down to unfortunate circumstance there for HVVP. They'll be aware of it now. Freak still low, still ticking away. Zone 4, so the zone will start to out-heal the meds. And a nade over onto Alex from Tixie is good news. HVVP continue their bid for this hillside. Remember, this is the Northwestern Circle. This is the circles that HVVP should specialize in. Shots over their way, getting taken away. Lord dismounted as well. Heals come through, looking for Kitsune as Tixie roams the hillside further. Freak disengages. He's moved on up and out of that blue zone position. The flush comes through. HVVP, 2 eliminations to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good opportunity. Learning from that last game in the case of, look, if we need to punch in somewhere, we need that battering ram to do it. And we cannot have 2 players behind us watching out in towards that circle, towards the zone. So they wait until it encloses just a little bit more before sending outwards. I think that you don't expect Freak out in the blue, like you say, in which case they do lose a player in that process, which is absolutely fine in my opinion. But now at least they have a position to move in towards the circle. Yes, Aegon and Reject are in front of them. But there's definite possibilities to pick up a position that Freak's currently playing in over on that western side. And it's better than nothing.
It's behind that big ridge line as well to the west of Aegon XIA. You can see that's exactly where they'll go. It's fully covered, and they can play on the other side of the circle. Ghost, if Tixie had gone down there, that would have been disaster. So definitely necessary for that one. A nade over the top. Not going to land in the building. Will have spotted the arc, and Tixie going a little bit closer to it. But Matic somehow lands that nade across the road. Enigma Galaxy take the tumble. HVVP up to 3 eliminations now. They can control this side, but Godless from IHC is still there. Is still in the shack that proved so dangerous for Enigma Galaxy.
And then when you hear that third party and you don't see an instant flush on the second, that you should know that there's at least one other player hovering around this area. But for HVP, again, this is a solved scenario right now where they're on that western side. They don't have too much to worry about. I think for Alpha 7, this is going to be a very difficult push down from that northeast edge unless they get a circle shift up towards them, which they do. This is a lot easier now for their side. But HVP have to continue onwards. Their march is made a little bit more difficult by the murky swamps of that I-8 position, as well as Reject in front of them. It's going to be difficult to get through there, and it might just be a case of waiting it out. Matic knows the position of Godless, just waiting for him to peek up for just a little bit. He has to move out of this position. So for HVP, it should be another secure elimination unless the players from I-8 can pick this up away from them.
Godless might try and take a challenge, maybe just look for a cheeky little knock. Smoke is there. But yeah, you've got to imagine this draws to a close fairly soon. HVVP can swing down to the south side of the ridgeline, but then they're directly challenging Bigatron's sightlines coming on through from that southwest side of the circle. Bigatron been fairly quiet for them at the moment. They have been playing near the urban environment, near those buildings, and it's very unlikely that teams are going to be rotating in behind them. They can just chill out for a minute, but they will need to figure out where to go from here.
It is so difficult now to get past this position. Looking for Godless, an ideal scenario, pick up that elimination and maybe think where to move next. I think crashing down towards I-8 spot, not the greatest of ideas. We're heading further down towards the south. There is warehouses down there. Finally, he goes down to Inko. A very long distance shot.
Inko, by the way,
spot where that is.
That early rotation from Inko still very much paying off. It's working out yet again. Team in 5th place right now. I mean, it certainly is doing wonders for their table standings, Blank.
Yeah, and they went for a 2-2 split at the beginning as well. I mean, they lost a player, able to get the res up, but they secured 2 positions around the map. VPE tried to pick up the other, in which case they immediately regrouped towards that northern side. So they're securing positions within the map at the moment. Yes, it's not the most central position, but it is somewhere to play from. You have teams like DRS, Titans, BTR, all with difficult decisions ahead of them trying to move downwards. I do respect the hell out of A7's current predicament, because they're up towards this northeast side. They've already sent 2 players up playing as front men for them, trying to allow the rest of A7 to get through. They send up in the vehicle, and slowly but surely, they have just pulled each other towards this ridge side under the cover of each player. So sending up 1 towards the ridge side in Carrillo, getting Mythic up there next, and then allowing the rest of the team to move to them with the cover of those 2 players in that position. So a very slow, tactical, but successful push coming through from A7.
It's likely, though, with this ridgeline right in front of them, giving them the majority of their cover right now, they're going to have to fight Vampire or choose to go for Inko instead. So it is a squad fight in their very near future, Blank. It could be very tricky. Aegon X8 and Reject have been sharing this compound as well on the western side for a long time.
I mean, they both just realized that this is a strong spot, and it would be unideal at this point in time with the amount of low ground and flat grounds around them to go for a fight. Very easy third party on the cards for them. DRS trying to pick up that position behind the guys from A7. Rules gets there, will be dispatched.
Unsure about that rotation. They knew Alpha 7 were up on that cliffside, and it was a completely bare knuckle push. Just going straight over towards it. Luckily, they do get knocked back over their way, but DRS have lost 2 in the process. 2 of their players going down. Leaves only Gianti on the reses. Delta still on this hillside. And only the one that is really resable in this scenario, Alpha 7. Fortunately, losing Mafioso, so they are going to be nerfed down to 3. Rules falls, and they pick up a point for it, but you don't want to be losing players when that squad fight is so close on the doorstep.
Bacon time. Now an opportunity to pick up some big points here. Very central spot. Nice high ground to play around with. A lot of buildings to cover, to hold on to, but also a lot of little bits of cover that they can hold on the sides from. And I think that's the major thing that you have to concern yourself with here on Bacon time side, is that there's hills going up this position. It's hard to push onto it without vehicles, which will really expose a lot of players coming up that way, in which case Bacon Times can kind of isolate and consolidate their forces onto one spot. DRS moves up, and A7 so far taking a lot of damage from them despite getting the initial knock over their side.
DRS have had them on broadside with very little cover for a long, long time, and now Alpha 7 are feeling that punishment, that pressure pushing on in. Revo takes the challenge, hits the drop shot for one. Carrillo wants to try and keep the squad alive as it's only now him and Revo standing, but only the one for DRS as well. Gianti falls back, regroups with a nade coming over the top. That's a Molotov to slow things down, and a nade sent back their way. I think that's coming in from Inko across the way, or even Vampire just over that ridgeline. The res gets off for Gianti. Revo stays alive as well. Now can Carrillo find what he's looking for? Can he get that knock? Because they're all grouped up. Vampire as well could find it if they launch the nade in the right direction. Vampire just slowing this fight down, making it so hard, lines them up, hits the deck, cannot stay exposed for too long, and it's Inko to take shots over towards DRS as well. Look at the fire coming in over the heads of Alpha 7, suppressing DRS, and there's the nade they were looking for. Revo takes down DRS, now they can turn their attention to Inko.
A second place team going head-to-head with A7 at the moment does get dispatched. A really good regroup, and this is where now Bacon Time have to consolidate. And the hill that I was talking about that Titans have to push up towards, they're one of the four-man teams in the lobby. This is a push they can make. It's a little bit difficult, but they are held short here. Sending smokes up towards that top side as well as nades to clear out the positions close by. In the meantime, HVP taking shots down towards BTR, trying to close out this rotation down towards the southwest and open up a spot for them to move in. One knock found at the moment, and BTR in dire straits at the moment with no real space to move through.
HVVP just about using every single inch of that ridgeline that they've been given. They know where BTR now, but Matic's moving slowly, speeds up a little bit as soon as those bullets start to land. Zuxi traded off as Tixie's on the ball. Liquid looking for answering shots, but Tixie does get knocked in the process. They cannot afford to lose another player here if they want to have a big game blank. Tixie will need to be rezzed. Kitsune right nearby, but Tixie caught out. The smoke covering off the answering spray from Matic to keep their heads down. And Bigatron not going to fall just yet. Oh, just about. Going to survive behind that. The vehicle does go up, but the reses are starting to come through for Bigatron. They're keeping themselves alive. And the circle moves away. They'll have to go further. And in 40 seconds, that will shrink.
Very difficult push here for Bigatron. The major thing that's keeping them in this one is having 4 players alive. They've got a lot of squad members to really take these angles off of them. Matic, though, hitting some nasty shots. A great headshot down the way, really putting the hurt down towards Bigatron, and they're hesitating. A foot is exposed, and Matic tries to take some more shots, eking either way and which, but that will be them over.
Finally, bringing a third knock into the mix works out for the Matic, able to pick those final shot spots. Misery, M249 to try and just suppress that ridgeline. HVVP, they're going to have to move first, probably, out of the teams to their northern side after they've dealt with Bigatron.
Still have cover to work with, though, moving off towards that east. 10 teams remaining. Genfoster steps up for a second, but instantly answered by the guys from HVP. Damage sent over towards Zuxi in the back, and realistically, this team coming through very strong with the mini 14s with DMRs. It's a very individual and unique playstyle coming through from them. Zuxi goes down. HV up to 5 eliminations so far. Make that 6. As Matic actually takes down players coming through from Aegon IA, in fact.
Very, very nice. Aegon XI8 trying to third party onto this engagement, and they're being turned away at the door. 10 eliminations for HVVP. What the hell just happened? Did they wipe out Aegon XI8? I think they did. They didn't even take a knock over their way either. Now Reject have taken that opportunity to leave, to move forwards. HVVP crunching on in. Everybody's popping off now. Bacon Time, 2 players down. Right in that central position, high ground compound, very, very valuable, and Titans have the numbers advantage. Vampire rolling on up in the northern side, and look at the teams that are starting to fall. Blank, the teams going down, and the teams above HVVP. 12 eliminations on the game right now, and Squash, last player standing for Inko to remove potentially another player from the teams above them. Titan from the south side, their only real competition here now. And what a bloodbath on this northern side. Finally, HVVP turn up the heat. They make it work, and they're turning their attention to Reject. 13 eliminations. Vampire looking across the ridge. Inko down, and yet more teams fall ahead of them.
This is a cataclysmic performance coming through from HVP as they just ruin a lot of these other squads' chances. They have that position. IA crashed directly on top of them. Remember, they had 4 players, and HVP send them packing. And now they have great sightlines over to everyone in this area of the map who are all squashed into a tiny space, have to fight off against one another. Sure, there's really not much cover whatsoever for the guys from HVP, but they're making this happen. We'll have got a nice little bit of a resupply on Aegon I8 before they had to move forward a little bit more. These DMRs, the M4s, working out very well for HVP on these long-range fights, these long-range engagements where some of these people in the lobby, they're prioritizing having the DBSs, having the UMPs over the DMRs themselves, but a few nasty little headshots coming through from the guys from Matic as well as Kitsune. Disgusting stuff.
Oh, Titan, they're going to have to leave this position though. HVVP need to time this perfectly. Puncher just hits the branches. They're getting cover from it. Reject looks for the spray to light it up, and Matic goes down. Vampire are taking their turn as well at the batting post, but with 13 eliminations, if they can just survive long enough, they have done so much to put a dent in that gap, and the teams ahead of them falling like flies. Inko already down, takes C, laid low, and now just one player. The IGL Kitsune for HVVP stays alive. I think he might just be in the next circle. Which teams can survive the oncoming onslaught?
Realistically, HVP should have gone down 10 minutes ago. It was such a difficult push for them. They had hardly anything to work with. The fact that they've got this far with this amount of eliminations is absolutely gargantuan for their side, up towards 6th place now. But like you say, they just need to survive a little bit longer. Besiktas at a single player, Reject down to 2. There is a high chance that both these teams go out fairly soon, with VPE understanding that they have to move out this way too. And we're on knife zone, and this will just pull further in.
Bacon Time suffering. They need a big game here. Blank, Vampire, Bacon Time, two teams that you would have expected to be in those top 5 at the start of the last chance phase. But right now, at Death's Door on their tournament, 5 eliminations for Vampire, 4 players alive. It's good for them, but Bacon Time suffering a little bit heavily as Titan roll on up into the door. HVVP eliminated 6th place, 13 eliminations. It's a whole load of points for them. They'll be happy with that. And Titan roll on through. It's breakfast as Bacon Time chowed down on by Titans. Only the one player, two players active. Orbicile is there, but they are just going to get torn through. Titan move on in. 3 players alive for Titan, but 4 for Vampire, and they're looking to turn it up. Titan getting cut out as well. Pieces low for Besiktas, but they make it into top 3 as Reject now with a duo. Vampire with 4. They've been holding behind this ridgeline for so long, but now they're going to move on out. They execute on their final strategy, their end game, and 11 eliminations so far, racking it on up. And Peace, the last player to stand in their way, will be bringing in that 12th point for them, and a chicken dinner for Vampire. You can see the elation in this squad from the bottom of the tables. A necessary time to stand up.
100%. I mean, like, there is only so long that you could stumble before you either fall down or find your footing. And VPE have found it here on that game of Miramar. 4 players still alive. This is much more the standard type of playstyle we've seen from VPE, getting back in towards the mix. Schweppes putting up a big performance, which has not happened in a little while, whereas we kind of expect it from this guy being one of the best players on the squad. I am pleased with that result coming from VPE. They took that central position, and you know what's really interesting about it is the fact that HVP, if it moves over towards that northwestern side, they hold on that ridge, and they dominate from that ridge. But we saw VPE get a very good result from the exact same position they took yesterday. It moved further towards the east, and VPE are able to translate from that spot. So very well done to Vampire there. Most players getting a very even result of damage and eliminations and knocks. So a great game overall for VPE. But is it enough at this point?
When the night is darkest, the Vampires come out to play, and they are here with a big chicken dinner to come through for the squad. As we've been saying time and time again, so necessary. HVVP, 13 eliminations on the game. A lot of teams ahead of them going down early, pushing up for that 5th place bubble, pushing up to be in that PMGC finals, because Blank, they needed this for them to be able to stay alive in this tournament. You expect them to be going there. They expect it of themselves, and both of those 2 rosters putting in the shift.
see what that win meant to Vampire Esports here, getting them back in the running for top 5 to potentially keep that door open to get into the PMGC Grand Finals. 27 points here picked up from the team. A fantastic performance, but honestly, there was, like we were saying before, Max, when we were watching the match, there was just so much happening. HVVP as well, having a slaughter in that last match in the matter of about 7 seconds.
We were talking about it during that game, Jason, that for Vampire Esport, if they want to be able to catch up, they need a chicken dinner. It was like, no, at least 10 eliminations. They a little bit outdo that, 27 points on the game. And this just gives them, I think, a glimmer of hope that they desperately, desperately needed. Because things were looking so grim for them before this match, but those mini 14 fights, Sansa, were just amazing from Flukev and Stone. Like, these guys are on point, and of course, Schweppes being Schweppes, he's just always going to pop off.
Yeah, it wasn't just that, by the way. It was also the fact that a lot of the teams in the middle of the leaderboard are also getting eliminated. Teams from the bottom are performing, so now it's going to be very, very close. But Matic and what he did to IA, what he did to Reject, what he did to this entire lobby this game, even holding on to or closing on BTR, not allowing them to move for such a long time. So much damage from him, so many elims. Very great game for HVVP. But if I'm being honest, this is the second time that we're seeing them on Miramar get gifted the first, second kind of zone. A lot of pressure is alleviated from their shoulders. So I want to see them perform like you mentioned before, Maxman. I want to see them perform the same way Inco would if they weren't gifted the zone. Where is that performance from HVVP?
I do have to agree, but in general, I think that this is them willing to be just a little bit quicker on their rotations, even in zones where they're very familiar with, and I think that that's just a great change to what we saw from them yesterday. And man, they eliminated, there you go, that's the word, 2 teams in a matter of like 10 seconds. Like, they just flipped a switch in that game and just went super aggressive, so good from HVVP. We'll see if they can keep it up in the next matches.
Well, you know what, Maxman? I'm going to flip the switch here and send us to a quick break while we get things ready to go for our third match of the day. Welcome back, everyone. As again, we finished off our second match of the day, but we still have 4 to come, but only 4 matches left to go, which that means the top 5 teams at the end of the day will be going through into the PMGC Grand Finals, where other teams are already waiting to participate over in Jakarta in January. But before we can even hop into our third match, which of course will be on Sandhack, I want to remind you guys once again about Sony Xperia 1.4 Xperia stream, which was made in collaboration with professional esports players. You can get 90 Hz in PUBG Mobile. Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. I learned yesterday not to throw that over to Max and Sandstorm because they don't remember the last word for some reason, but one thing they do remember is how awesome Prime Gaming is, because you can get exclusive in-game free PUBG Mobile items as well as additional content beyond that. And even with the Prime benefits, it's a win-win-win situation. Just no chicken dinner involved.
I don't know how that works, but I thought it came with it, with the deal, but that's fine. I don't know.
Let's take a look at our overalls. Let's see where we're currently standing here. Alpha 7 going to be in first place at 103 points. And we have seen Titan move up to third, but there hasn't been a shift at the moment in our top 5. However, HVVP, Vampire Esports, Game Lord, they're coming. Problem was Game Lord got 0 points in the last game.
Yeah. Oh Lord, they're coming. It's Vampire Esports. Vampire started off the day in 15th position right now, Sandstorm. Now in 7th position, just at the door of making it potentially in that top 5 position. One other just even average game would be enough, but we know the competition towards the top is just so tough right now. All the teams are taking down one another. It's a tough position to be in, but at the bottom, it's looking a bit grim for the teams right now.
It is looking grim at the very bottom for Bacon, Egon IA, and for Enigma Galaxy. But for Damwon Kia, it is about 15 points for them. But realistically, we're looking at LGD, even Besiktas, 56 points, 10-point difference from them, and 5th place. But realistically, 5th and 6th place, I think, are the one, or 5th and 4th place are the ones that are going to be open to, let's say, competition or contest right now for the top 5 spots. Alpha, DRS, I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to take their spots away with only 4 games left to go. And the way that Alpha's been looking and the way DRS has been playing, very, very passive early on, just making sure they survive into the later stages of the game. It's going to be very interesting to see these last games for sure.
Yeah, you have to imagine that if you're the likes of one of those two teams, you just don't even care about playing super aggressive. You don't care about winning matches. All you care about is just surviving to the late game, right? Try to get as many points built up just from placements alone. And ideally, no one should be catching you. But let's see your two teams to watch here and see if any of these teams could potentially catch up into our top 5. HVP, Vampire, Alpha 7, Maxman. A little bit of a cop-out answer, but you know what? I gotta respect it. It's fair.
I feel like if I pick any team outside of top 5 right now, I'm just going to bring bad luck to them right now. I've done it for BTR. I've done it for Game Lord. Like, it's got to end right now, so I'm just I'm going for the good top
and
answers.
VP aren't top 5 though.
Sorry, the teams are like not in the race right now.
Okay. That makes
So yeah,
sense.
we're close to top 5, yeah.
Looking over towards you though, Sandstorm. Again, 2 teams in top 5 at the moment, and HVVP. Talk me through it.
HVVP, because I want to see them perform again without the zone giving them a huge advantage at the very beginning, and especially when we're looking towards Sandhawk, these guys need to perform a little bit better. And when I'm looking towards the rest of the teams, Titan, just consistency is there for them towards the end of day 1 and slowly getting themselves in those top 4, top 5 positions multiple times. So pretty good for Titan. And DRS, keep up that passive play in the early stages of the game. Get yourself as a nice, cozy position towards the end, and you should be perfectly fine and ready for the grand finals.
Well, I have read the script here, have learned that HVP will get a Northwestern Island zone. Let's see if it's going to work out for him, though, as we head over to our commentators to kick off the 3rd match of the day.
Going into match number 3 with Sandhawk at the door. After this game, Blank, I'm thinking that we're going to be starting to see some teams really kind of cut off from the top of the tables, from that bubble position. Blank won't have been able to hear me as I was saying that, but you guys on stream will have been able to hear you, hear what I was talking about. After this game, Blank, I was saying that we're going to be starting to see teams cut off from the top 5 bubble spots.
That is correct, John. Thank you for consolidating that into a nice, concise point for me to understand and then reply to, which I will do right now.
Oh,
we are,
good.
yes, 100% going to be seeing some of these teams being cut off towards the bottom side. I think for Nikke Galaxy, IA, Bacon Time, if they do not have a good performance here that sits around about 50 points, it's going to be very difficult over the next 3 matches at the end of the day to actually hit up towards that top side lobby. Certainly possible with this type of a sprint format, and particularly with the way that the lobby currently is quite evenly split all the way down to the bottom. There's still a chance. I think Inco right now is that team that everyone's gunning up towards. Right now, HVP is currently tied with them at 66 points. That tiebreaker currently being the placement points they were able to accrue on Inco's side. 38 eliminations, but only 28 rank points there for HVP as opposed to 32 on Inco. They do need a little bit more. However, Inco so far have been struggling to find that golden kind of opportunity they were able to find in the past couple of days where they were getting those big points, getting those big numbers put up.
HVVP currently 3rd highest eliminations in the lobby. 44 for Alpha 7 and IHC on 41. So they have definitely had an impact, I think it's safe to say. See if they can do so again. But Inco, that central style, working out for their placement points, which after all is that tiebreaker position as we come close to our first circle coming through.
Wait for that one to hit. Obviously, Inco were on board with them right now, needing to put up a good performance at the moment in 5th place, right on the edge of being knocked out here. VPE, things looked very dire for them. I think they were down towards that 15th place position at the start of the day, now up towards 7th at the moment, which is incredible to see for them. 62 points, looking to get up towards the top 5. Going to be hard to dismount DRS, but with Alpha 7 taking 103 points, putting that buffer between them and second place quite high, first team to reach triple digits here in the last chance, you know, there is a lot of opportunity for other teams to leapfrog underneath some of these guys like Titans, IHC, Inco, DRS, who have yet to find those big games consistent like we're seeing from A7 at the moment.
And if you're one of the teams that is looking to chase that bubble, you're very happy to see Alpha 7 earning all of those points, right? You're looking for them to take those points away from the other top contenders, unless all of those other guys are finishing in 4th, 5th, 3rd places, that sort of area at the same time. You're happy that Alpha 7 are taking a big chunk away from you because it's unlikely that you're going to get up to that first position or challenge for it, but you just want to have that bubble reduced as low as possible so that when you have a pop-off game, like your HVVP, like your Vampire Esports, you have managed to put yourself back in the running.
Circle heads up towards the northwest side. VPE, HVP, not happy yet though. I think with this kind of circle, we've seen a lot of times it head over towards that eastern side, making that crossing from the northwest infinitely more difficult. I think with the way that we see this lineup from Besiktas, A7, Reject down towards Down1, which almost makes this semicircle that encloses around the northwest island, is so hard for VP and HVP to leave that island without having to take some very early fights in this game. And we know with the way that we've extended how long these games actually last for. I mean, you used to see Sandhawks finish around 21 minutes sometimes in very hectic scenarios. Now we're usually looking at that 26-minute mark where the game comes to a close. So very interesting stuff in terms of the amount of time that you have to spend getting through a lot of these engagements. And it's no longer a case of you get through that one engagement and then you can just kind of wait out towards the end of the game. Those 5 minutes may seem like a very short amount of time, but when you get to those final circles, 5 minutes can be the difference between a 10th place and a 2nd place.
Very early move from Reject up to get that crossing. 3 players already all the way over there. Duello still as a backstop, but this is a central lobby, and slap bang in the center is on that northwestern island. Game Lord rotating around the northern side with a boat, likely to make landfall to the west point, just west of Hartin, on the north side of that island. They're giving the rest of it a very wide berth, though. You can see that they're not going to take any sort of chances whatsoever. In the case Besiktas are holding on that northern side, but they are moving down south towards that bridge. Vampire looking to try and control that crossing, but they've allowed Reject in on the south side into one of the strong compounds on the northwestern island underneath those cliffs that HVVP will be looking to exert control over.
Yeah, getting here early is a little bit of a Hail Mary, honestly. It's one of those positions that gives you a lot of comfortability. And Inco were looking for this as well, it seems. You know, hoping to sit out the majority of the game. And with Reject already being in that position, goodness me, now Inco's in a really tough spot because this entire macro decision, this entire push from them gets sent away, and they're left feeling a little bit questionable where they want to go next. That confusion starts to set in. Where do we head towards? Which positions can we take on the map that haven't already been taken? And I think this is where it gets very, very different for Inco, considering a lot of teams have made that analysis, watched the VODs from yesterday, done their homework, and realized that Inco were just finding good spots in the circle early on in the game, which could work out towards the end game, and then just sitting there. And more often than not, they're finding those spots. You can see that confusion really coming back to bite them because they are just circling, and there's no longer anywhere for them to go.
Dogs of War of HVVP smell the cordite on the breeze underneath them. They're looking for those sneaky little shots. You could see just peeking in and out. Matic wants to get any sort of information, probably more valuable at this stage than the eliminations, because HVVP already have a high expected value point scoring position. Have to see where the next circle does go, but at the moment it is very much in their favor. Game Lord made net landfall on the northwestern point of the island west of Hartin, and they are now land fallen. Duello finding Squash, and again, Reject exerting a lot of control for getting here very, very early.
Yeah, it's literally the Inco play, and
Yeah.
it's funny to see it come back to bite them because you have this singular play where it's worked out so many times because other teams have not been going for this same rotate. As soon as another team takes up that position, Inco is just completely floundered by that. I genuinely don't think that they knew what to do after a team was in that position. They had no backup plan, to say the least, and hoping that that would just take them all the way. And this is the one thing that I was worried about, the one thing that I thought would cause problems in future for Inco, and it's certainly starting to rack up now as they're not finding those points. Again, 54 at the start of the day, able to get 12 points on the day after getting quite a lot of eliminations from that bankside position over on Erangel, but it's not really brought them up to speed with some of the other squads towards the top of the lobby, like Titans, who have made a really good run for it, trying to secure their place in that grand finals.
If you remember, Blank, we were talking about where the bubble is looking to be at the end of today, as Lord takes a tumble. We were looking at how many points were able to be earned in the survival stage, where they all played. Oh dear, we'll talk about that shift in a second. But where we're looking at that bubble being is on that 10-point average line. At the moment, a lot of teams are falling quite far beneath that at this stage. So we might have a reduced bubble at this point. But Blank, tell me about this shift, because it is quite dramatic.
It really is quite horrible. This is what I was talking about earlier, where, you know, HVP and VPE still worry for themselves when you see a shift like that. Zone 2 is always the hardest shift that we are going to see, so it could really go anywhere a lot of times within this circle. Heads hard up towards that northeastern side, which sits us on that bridge. Now, a lot of teams at the moment, again, prioritizing those central spots, have almost ruined themselves by taking these positions down towards the south side of the mountain. I think you're going to be struggling for a lot of them. Titans, on the other hand, who have yet to move, actually secure themselves a good spot within the lobby if they move in the next couple of minutes, purely because there's so much open space on this eastern side. It could be west, it could be east, but if you're on the western side, you're in a world of hurt anyway with the amount of teams already here.
The Inco duo sending as fast as they can towards the water and trying to potentially play underneath that bridge. That worked out for them in the last game, so why not? They have managed to pull up on that west side of the bridge that connects the Northwest Island and the mainland.
So open, though, that crossing.
Yeah, it really is. I'm surprised they even got that far, to be fair, as a duo. But once again, Vampire play on the hill to the northeast side of the HVVP mountain. But this time around, HVVP move in nice and early to get a little bit of a foothold to give them a route in. Last time we saw them come into conflict was IHC take a fight with LGD, and actually Alex controlling the roll-up nut really beautifully there as a solo outpost for IHC. We'll be able to look for these flushes as well. Really good stuff. But when we've seen Vampire contest on that little mound to the northeast side of HVVP, we've seen them not move early enough, and HVVP have learnt that lesson.
Absolutely. I think getting up towards this position gives you a lot of high ground control. I think for HVP at the moment, you know, those elimination counts are really giving them the majority of the points that they need. And I think it's this point in time where this circle isn't always going to favor us, but what we can do is we can shift from this mental play style of, look, we have the circle itself, so let's just continue to sweep. We'll play that 2-2 position. When they don't get the circle like this, I think they just have to completely start thinking about, right, we have to go into full elimination mode and start bringing out the big guns and just taking as many shots as possible. Because if we can clear out teams, we're technically clearing out space. And I like that from HVP. IHC rolling up, pretty much completely destroying the rest of LGD, who were at 60 points and they were bringing it back. But after this unfortunate loss, going down in 16th place now, which happens more often than not for LGD, a very streaky team. Some games they look like the best team in the lobby and maybe even the best team out of PMGC. Then other games they look like this, where it just feels like they're not even part of the conversation. And that's a really difficult thing for me to analyze on the desk, for the actual desk to analyze over on their side, as well as for you guys at home, because it feels like if you want to cheer for LGD, sometimes you're cheering for an LGD that seems completely different from the norm. It's odd to see, and I think I'd like to see LGD bring it back into that position where they're performing similarly every single time. However, at this rate, I don't think they're getting towards the grand finals.
The circle again onto the bridge. Somehow, Blank, Inco are in a central position. Okay? It's just one of the facts of the universe that if there's a circle, it's very likely that Inco are right in that middle spot. But Nikke the Galaxy move around the north side and scout out towards underneath that bridge. And actually, with Inko swimming across, trying to make it to the other side, that could be difficult. Vampire this time around, however, are going to control that approach. It didn't work out for their control over Inko, but Nikke the Galaxy will feel the brunt of that pain. Ralph spotted, shot down, Schwepp picks up the flush.
HVP even got involved on that engagement as well, taking shots down that way. VPE, though, in a good spot at the moment. Like you said, though, oh, dear, he has the vehicle underneath. Try and keep these players off him. Keeps pulling out the nade. That is mean. That is really mean.
God, that is a
like
threatening presence.
Yeah, a little exclamation mark above his head. Alpha 7, up against IHC. It's a knock apiece. 2 4-man squads. So far, though, Godless getting knocked too. That's them down to just 2 players. Continuing on that streak. 2 for 2. I would love to see this fight right now. I mean, it is all going off. I mean, IHC would really like to get some points, and purely taking out A7 out of the way means that a lot of those points being ripped away from the top of the lobby, IHC could probably secure a little bit of a better position towards that top side of the top 5.
Bacon Time with a strong position as well. Vampire had their turn. HVVP had their turn. It is Bacon Time's turn to step up from the group green heavy hitters. But IHC demolishing on this south side might ruin Alpha 7's chance. You don't want to let IHC be getting these points if you're chasing for that bubble either, because they are much more within reach than Alpha 7 are. So you do want to root for them. DRS rolling across the top of the bridge. Nobody else had this idea, Blank, but it seems like nobody else had a good idea either. Into the back of the pickup, and they'll be playing with the cover.
I like that a lot. It's like everyone's, we gotta go underneath the bridge. And DRS is like, why don't we just use the bridge what it was made for? Let's just go on top.
Maybe not all the way.
This makes no sense. In fact, everyone else in the lobby, completely illogical usage of the bridge, which is, this is a comfortable way across, let's swim. That's not how I see bridges in particular. However, Inko seems to find success off the back of that approach anyway. Alpha 7, though, with 2 players, actually taking down more from IHC. So once again, another 2 for 2. And holding on. Another knock comes through on that side. That's VPE, Vampire getting involved.
They needed to be able to get up in there for the vault, but now there's 2 players down on the inside. Alpha 7 holding off against IHC. First knock is close, but there's 2 players still on the inside to handle. Carrillo gets the spray down, needs the weapon swap. A sliver of HP on the inside, just jittering around the corner. Nervous now, but the fancy feet win out the day. Falls back, doesn't go for the flushes, doesn't get greedy, and sticks the res. He knows that the last player from IHC will not be able to get this res off before he can.
Close.
So he'll be able to play on the 2 players. Carrillo stays alive, gets Revo back into the fight, repositions Godless around the side, a DBS, a nade around the corner, looks to just slow things down, or certainly give them a little bit of fear.
Oh my
and IHC
God.
fall. It's an off angle coming through from Aegon XI8, and Carrillo keeps Alpha 7 at the top of the table.
I do not believe what I've just seen. Alpha 7. That's an insane haul from them, but now I8 looking to get involved. But again, Revo, Carrillo, you cannot count either of these guys out. UZM spots the player crossing, nades going through the doorway, trying to keep Revo under pressure. This splits them up, might not be able to take that 2v1, the crossfire, so it will be the 1v4s, but a load of damage pouring through.
Another test for Alpha 7. This time Aegon XI8. Revo has the bulk of the health right now, and Carrillo is down. They've taken it in turns, and nades towards the back are going to make it even harder. Revo split from his teammate right now. And he looks for the challenge. First knock, taken down. Excellent start. Needs to find another. Looks for the spray. Crosses the doorway, and he falls down. Aegon XI8 proved to be just a little bit too much. You can't really blame them coming off the back of that fight. The circle shifted down south, so now Aegon XI8 with a brilliant compound. HVVP controlling the hillside on that western edge of it. Down 1 trying to challenge, but in the meantime, Game Lord and Besiktas trying to leave from Harten.
Barlow up with the DBS. Son HP also laid bare there. Hits the deck. The helmet bouncing off the wood there. Makes the resounding sound of defeat on that side. BTR, similarly, Zuxi going up against 6. Misery's already down, but Titan's in a worse spot. But nades pouring over the top, and Jem Foster cannot handle the amount of firepower coming out from Titans.
2 players down. BTR trying to activate now with the
Liquid!
DPS. 1 and 2. 2 shots, 2 knocks. Liquid has to worry about his left flank though, because Teak is there. Sprayed down, and he will be able to find a knock over onto one of the forward players from Bigatron. There's a res going on in the backside, and Teak is pushing up. Zuxi wants to stick this one, knows that Teak might commit, but hang on a minute, he pushes over. Titan take down Bigatron, and Zuxi caught unawares there. You've got to wonder what was going through their mind. You take the challenge, you know Teak's pushing, but Titan stay alive on 2.
This is one of those speed plays. You either commit to one decision
Oh,
or the other.
no.
What is that? Out in the water with the loot crate, a small island with a compound down towards the southeast. Maybe Titans want to pick that up. I don't know how close anyone can get towards that position. Nenebete might be able to swim his way down. Remaining in this game for a long, long time for Inco, but I don't know if these placement points are going to cut it for them. Titans for Tixie and HVP looking to move up towards down 1's position. They got ahead of them nice and early, but Nade's still pouring through. Favian moves down, knows he has to get off this top side, considering this is no longer an ideal spot for either of these teams. Song waiting.
Favian leaves, wants to take a dip, maybe looking to go all the way across, but doesn't quite get into the deep water in time. Maybe he thought that it was a little bit deeper there, but there's quite a lot of shallows in this river. You have to be very careful when trying to move forwards on it. HVVP moving forwards towards down 1 now as the circle pushes them into this engagement. Sung close to the rock. Needs to hold off against at least one of these players. Kitsune swings out wide. HVVP cannot afford to lose a player at this stage. They need to keep it together now. Getting the damage in. Kitsune goes low on the wide, deep swing. Sung will be falling. Forest now, last player standing for down 1 as HVVP just about holding it together. Will be caught out, and now they can move further down, but Kitsune is bleeding out. Down 1 eliminated. The chase is on. HVVP, they're up in 5th now, Blank.
The fact that none of them actually went down is a huge shout for the performance going forward. Reject, though, still spotting up towards that way. Duello looking towards that position. I8, 6 eliminations so far. Looking to take down Duello. That nade should do the trick. Takes him down. 7 eliminations for I8. Meku taking a huge amount of damage from BPE, who are watching them as they walk down this side. It's completely barren, open ground for them. And 9 eliminations for Vampires, looking to set themselves up towards that top side of the lobby already.
It felt like HVVP just played this a little bit too slowly, and now they're paying the price for it. 2 first aids as actually Fluke does go down and reposition Stoned. Looking for that cross, will have another first aid, but the drop down will take him down. Ravenclaw's there watching, and Matic will be the last player alive for HVVP. Has to just go for a shot. Try and pick up an elimination if you can. It would be great, but Schwepp, he escapes the first set of spray, but needs to go for the reload, and he's spotted by Ravenclaw. Unfortunate for HVVP to not pick that up, but Vampire going to be really slowed down by that. They'll lose a lot of scouting power, and they'll lose the potential to go closer to this. Bacon Time, by the way, still alive. They are swimming across now and getting off to the shoreline. There's Shirty, and because Vampire were losing players, Blank, that sightline was denied and allows them an opening.
Still not so bad for Vampire. They're realistically the only ones with a strong position here other than I8 who are looking to put up a big performance this game and set themselves up towards that 6th to 9th place bracket where there's a chance to get towards that top 5. They will need another big game to do it, but we've seen them do it before. UZM gets towards the coast. Stone's trying to take shots. 10 eliminations for Vampire. 4 players still on board, and already we said they're in the top 5 and they're looking to put up more points on this game, which might even see them up towards maybe even top 2 if the RS go out soon.
Vampire taking shots over to Bacon Time, trying to stop their landfall, but there's always that foothold that they've got in already. Shirty, Orm style, they just want to stay alive at this stage. They cannot afford to go down this early in this one. 7 teams remaining. Going down at this point would pretty much cut them out the top 5 entirely. Big Galaxy take the tumble. Vampire really striking out, not only for the top 5, Blank, maybe looking to try and jump up to compete with Alpha 7 after this one.
Absolutely, this is what I'm talking about. Is that